Hi everyone, this is Funmi Williams. We're on lockdown in UK, so I thought to myself, everybody's on lockdown. There's so many things I've always wanted to do and I didn't have time to do. So today's one of those days. I'm making rock cakes. Everybody likes my rock cakes. I don't know, I can't boast of them myself, but most people that have tasted my rock cakes said I know how to make them really good, and I think it's one of the things that I'm really good at making, especially now that my children are all grown up. Most of them do all those sweet desserts. Most of them are the girls and the boys are the ones that do those kind of things, but none of them at the moment have been able to do rock cakes yet. So first and foremost, I'm going to be, before we start, we're going to be washing our hands thoroughly. Even though I washed it before, I'm still going to wash it again, okay? And then we wash our hands first, and then we start with measurements of what we need to measure. You can use nail brush if you have nails, but I don't keep nails because of the kind of job that I do. So if you do have long nails, watch out, because you're going to be using your hand in this. You need to wash underneath your nails thoroughly so that you don't give anybody any germs under there. So I don't have a lot of nails. I barely have anything because I've cut them short. I always have to cut them short, just like the nurses have to do, you know. So I'm washing my fingernails, making sure everything under the nail is out, you know, making sure there's nothing hiding there. And I'm going to also take my wedding band off so that I don't use it in cooking. When I finish cooking, then I can put it back on. Make sure we maintain the, highest level of hygiene as possible. It's very important. You don't want to poison anybody during this time. We have enough going round than for you to actually, be poisoning someone. I try to use paper towel when I'm baking, because then it means my hand is thoroughly dry and I'm not picking up anything else from the towel. You can also use that one so far it's clean. It's important. Okay, keep that aside. Now we go to measurements. I'm going to start with, I don't know how you do your rock cakes, but what I do is I mix both flour, plain flour, and self-raising flour together. So we're going to go into measurement now. Make sure the scale is on 0, by the way. Make sure your scale is on 0. It needs to be well positioned. If it's too much, just adjust it slightly. So we go back. Sorry, there was someone at the door. So now we measure, like I was saying, make sure the scale is on 0. Okay, we're gonna make sure our scale is exactly on 0. I'm gonna measure, it's going to be 400 ounces, or I don't know whether you use kilograms. I'm not sure whether pounds or ounces, but I'm going to be using 400 kilograms of self-raising flour. So we'll measure that. Almost there, we're getting there. It's almost 400 ounces. Exactly 400 ounces. Oh, kilograms, sorry. Kilograms. So, yep, that's 400 ounces of self-raising flour. That goes in the bowl. And I normally add 200 kilograms of plain flour, which I'll measure now. If you use kitchen towel, just keep the wet kitchen towel nearby. You can use it to wipe off all the flour flour that you put on the locker. So 200 kilograms of plain flour, you measure that. 200 kilograms. Okay, that's exactly 200 kilograms of plain flour. Put that back. Put that in the bowl. Okay, get that in the bowl. Make sure it's in the bowl, as you can see. Then we're gonna measure, because my children like the rock cake sweet. If it's not sweet, they won't eat it. So we've had 400 kilograms of self-raising flour, 200 kilograms of plain flour. Then I'm gonna add about 300 kilograms of sugar, castor sugar. I normally use castor sugar. If you don't have castor sugar, just use any other sugar that you have in the house. Okay, just make sure it's, you know, to your taste really. Measure that. As you can see, going to be about 300. If you don't make it 300, it don't be sweet enough, and they're not really gonna enjoy it. I'd rather they enjoy it than left to me. If it was just to me, probably I will have less than that amount of sugar. Once you've measured that, you put it in the bowl. Okay, thank you. So okay, we've washed our hands again because I had to go and put things away. So now we're gonna walk. The way you walk it, it needs to be like in crumbs. You are not kneading it. You don't need to knead it. So if you put that way, you're gonna break this. You break the the spread inside the flour. If it's butter you're using, you break it using your hand, your fingers. It needs to be like when you have breadcrumbs, everything inside that, it needs to be like that. See, you need to break the butter, the spread inside it. And you know, when I'm doing this, sometimes I like to listen to music when I'm doing this, or dance while I'm doing this. But for today, for this purpose, I'm not going to actually listen to music, so that you can hear everything I'm saying properly. Some people, you can use, if you have machine, a food processor, you can use it, but I'm not too sure how that one is going to turn out to look like, as in the dough of it, because this dough is normally unique. As you can see, I have to do that, sorry. You need every bit of it. It needs to be in a breadcrumby state. So I have to make sure that that margarine goes inside well, because I can still see some bigger lumps in the flour mixture. Don't forget, we have the sugar as well. When you mix everything together, you know, it helps to have a good mix, not some lumpy, some not lumpy. Everything needs to be a bit even. If you mix it up like that, make sure it's well mixed. Once you mix it like that, I'm using one hand. I tend not to use two because I need the other hand, the other finger, to be able to open my milk. I'm pouring it when I do need it. Okay. So I think, as you can see, you don't want the big lumps like that. You need it to be like that. See, the butter or the spread that you're using, if you don't have whatever spread you're using in it, everything needs to come out like that. No lumps at all, no spread hiding anywhere. Everything is mixed up in the flour real good. Sometimes some people say they want to wear gloves to do this. It's up to you if you want to wear gloves to do it, but it's my home. Yes, regardless of whether coronavirus is going around, this one is not, it's not a portion here. And it's not the portion of everyone that eats out of our food. I've washed my hands properly. That's why, as you can see, okay, I think it's time for us to add our eggs. We need to add the eggs in and put, then we start adding milk as per how we need it, because the texture must not be too smooth, or else it will turn out into flat cakes instead. So I'll put this somewhere. All right. As you can see, I've made a hole in the middle. I made a hole in the middle of the, you know, the flour. What I'm going to do is pour the eggs inside, as you can see, the egg mixture. Okay. I pour that inside. Put that in the sink. Okay. Then I'm going to add a little bit of milk. This is where I was saying I'm leaving my other hand free where I can use it to open things. You don't want too much of it at a time. You need to mix the egg with the flour, with the mixture. Then if you now need to add a bit more, then you add a bit more. So if you mix it gently like that, you keep mixing till all the flour is mixed in it. If you feel you need some more milk, then you add to it. Just make sure that there's no part of this mixture that is floury. Everything is mixed together. If it's floury, it shows a sign that you need a little bit of milk to add. You need to add a little bit of milk to it. You need to put a little bit of milk in it. Just a little bit, not too much. Just to give it a good mix, because the pastry must not be too soft. Just a little bit at a time, as per how you need it. If you don't need it at all, just keep mixing, you know. Don't need it, just mix with your hand. As you can see, I can still see some flour at the bottom. If I mix everything together that way. Okay, I need my spatula now. I don't think I need any more liquid in this. The consistency of this dough is just about right. I just need to make sure that any other floury part of it is mixed well. Okay, can see some at the bottom there. Can you see the consistency of it? You can see the way it is. That's what the dough, or the paste, not pastry, but this is what the mixture looks like. It's not very hard like a floury bread dough, and it's not extremely soft like a cake dough, you know. It's raw cake, but it needs to be rough. So now that this is done, that's the end of the mix. We don't need to do anything to this anymore. It's just the right consistency. So as you can see, that's what it looks like. Can you see that? Okay. All right, then. Now we're gonna actually put them in a. I have a greaseproof paper over my tray. We're gonna portion them into the greaseproof and onto the tray. But before then, I need to set the oven. I have a fan oven, which is usually quite hotter than a conventional one. So I'm gonna set it at 160 for 35 minutes, but 5 minutes will be for, you know, heating the oven up. Okay, I'll actually make it 10 minutes in order to make sure that the oven is quite hot. So I'm going to set that for 40 minutes on 160 degrees, and it's a fan oven, so it's 160. They're usually hotter than the conventional one. So what we're going to do now is we already have our tray here. I have greaseproof paper on the tray, as you can see. I have the tray here. I put a greaseful paper in it. So what you do is you're gonna scoop this with your hand. Once you mix it up like that, mix it real good to be sure that the egg, and the milk, everything's gotten in. Then you scoop it. Depending on whatever size you want yours to be, then you put it on the tray like that. Okay. It's supposed to be rough. That's why it's called rock cakes. It's not supposed to be smooth. It's not a smooth cake. You understand me? So I tend to do the big ones. Portion them. Just make sure it goes round. Let's see whether we can add another one to that one. Just a little bit more. Because when they start rising, they're gonna take a whole lot of space. Okay. I'll add a little one there because you don't want them coming out of the baking tray actually. Oops. Join that one. Gonna be a conjoined twins one once they start. So that is that. I'm going to have to take another tray that is ready for going into the oven in 10 minutes. I need to take another one. That's another tray. I'm gonna put some more in that one. Just make sure you fill the trays up. Hopefully it comes out right, because sometimes when I've made it too how will I call it, a bit too soft, then it becomes how will I call it, it becomes more of a flat cake than a rock cake really. But I think hopefully it's been some time I've made it, this one will come out right. Okay, now what I want to do is get rid of all of this from my hand, from my finger. Okay, it's a lot of dough. Just get rid of most the ones that I can get rid of. Okay, and I'm gonna use the spatula for the remaining. What I aim to do is to make sure that the tray is ready by the time it's 10 minutes and the oven is timed for 10 minutes, that it goes in for 10 minutes. Okay, after 10 minutes I mean. So I've been able to get rid of most of that. I'm gonna wash my hands and then use the spatula for the remaining. You need to wash your hands in hot water to be able to get rid of this quickly, because if you don't, it won't come off easily. So you have to use the brush again. sorted. Dry my hands now. So what I'm gonna do is scoop what is left in here with the spatula. Into this last spot on the baking tray. I'm going to use a knife as well, just to get rid of what is left on there. I'm not sure whether I've made the consistency right today, because it's looking as if it's going to turn out to be a cake or a flat cake eventually or something. Maybe I've added too much milk, I'm not sure, but we'll see how it turns out. It's been a long time, like I told you. I've done it. It's supposed to be a bit. Don't want it too hard, but sometimes when it's harder, it's better. Okay. Use 4 eggs for those. So that's it. All done and ready to go in the oven. Okay. So before the oven starts beeping, as you can see, that's what it looks like. It's not supposed to be a smooth mixture. It's supposed to be rough like that. Everything is ready to go in the oven. Once the oven starts to beep, once the oven starts to beep in about how will I call it? In about 10 minutes or just 1 minute more, then we're going to put them in the oven and actually bake them for the next 30 minutes. And as it turns out, wherever it turns out, I'll still let you see it, you know, regardless of whether it turned out to be what I wanted or it came out as a flat cake. But, you know, just something to do at home. It's been a long time I've made it myself, so. Okay, that's our oven beeping. It's time to put this in. As you can see, I'm gonna be putting everything in the oven. Start with this one. That one goes at the top. It's gonna bake for 30 minutes. I bake it for 30 minutes. Doesn't mean that you have to bake it for 30 minutes, but just keep checking to see that it's well cooked. And how you check that is to put, if you have it's well cooked in the middle. The posh way of checking is to use this food, you know, thermometer thing and see whether it's cooked. But the easiest way is to see when you take a plain table knife through one of the rock cakes. If it comes out and there's nothing sticking to the knife, then you know that it's fully cooked. If there's something sticking, then you reduce the heat and put it on low heat, and so that it can cook evenly, and then you dip it again and then it comes out evenly. I mean, nothing is sticking to the knife. That's how you know that you don't have raw dough inside the rock cakes. And don't forget what I said, I made it a bit softer, but sometimes you don't make it too hard. If the dough is too hard or too tough, or I don't know what else to say, it's gonna come out uneatable by the time you put it in the oven, because it's supposed to bake. It's just gonna come out like some kind of Assyrian baking clay. That's what it's going to turn out to be like. It's going to be rock solid and nobody will be able to eat it. It's better when it's not too good when it's too soft, but if it's in between, at least even if it comes out as a flat cake, you can still have it, you can still enjoy it. But if it comes out nice and it's looking rocky the way you want it to look, then it's even better, because then that way you know that you made it. But don't put too much of liquid or too much of eggs, or too less of them and too much flour, you know, whether self-raising or plain flour. Don't put too much of it in the intent that you want to make it so much for so many people to eat. Get the balance right, you know, between the consistency of making it not too soft, not too hard, and just in between. We'll see how mine turns out. It's been a long time I made it, but when it does come out of the oven, I'll let you see it. In the meantime, I'm going to go and clear up, wash up, and probably do some dancing. Okay? Okay, everyone, this is how I think I've checked that one in the oven. Okay, I've just checked it briefly and I've noticed that it's getting to be like a flat cake. So I've made another one using the same recipe, but a smaller recipe, just for a smaller one. But what I've done is put in less liquid. I didn't put too much milk in this one. So there's the consistency of this one. As you can see, this one is not it's not as soft as the first one, as the previous one. So this is what this one looks like. Okay, hopefully this one will turn out better than the other one. I will show you what both of them comes out like. Okay, so let's get this also ready and dish it out. I mean, not dish it out as in, okay, on the bowl, in the baking bowl. Okay, the consistency, it stays in the bowl. Okay, don't forget what I said, it's not meant to be smooth. I'll let you see what the other one turns out to be like. The first one, I mean, this is the second one batch I'm making, and this one is a bit better than that one. I think this one will turn out to exactly what I want it to look like, because I think I put too much milk in that one, so it's going to turn out to, most likely, still not going to waste. We'll put custard with it or have it with ice cream or something, but it's not going to go to waste. That one I'm sure of. I want to try and make them as even as possible, you know. As even as possible. Okay. As you can see, what I was saying, that If it's too, if you put too much milk, then it's gonna turn out like a flat cake, which most likely mine is gonna turn. The first one is gonna turn out to be. But if you make it too hard as well, people will not be able to eat it. It will be just rock solid. It's the last bit. So I just take a bit off my hand. Okay, so this is how this one looks like. We'll see how that one turns out when we bring it out of the oven. I'm going to put that one also in the oven, and then we're going to see how it turns out. Then I can clean up after myself afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to go and do all my washing up. See you in a bit. The first one, I put too much milk, so it's turned out into a flat cake. Still eatable, but now you have to separate it with a spatula. That's not what a rock cake is supposed to look like. So I'll show you the next batch, which is what a rock cake is supposed to look like. Don't forget, don't put too much liquid. Add your eggs and mix as best as possible before you start adding milk, or else it will come out like that, flat cake. That is the sound of the oven finished. So ta-da! This is what it's supposed to look like. Can you see what it's supposed to look like? When you talk about rock cake, it's supposed to look rocky. Sorry, I just had a bit of a bun trying to bring something out of the tray, out of the oven, so I'm trying to do my natural first aid. Run cold water on it and rub it with salt so that it doesn't leave a scar on my wrist. So this is what rock cake is supposed to look like. Can you see? It looks rocky, really rocky. You know, can you see the top? It's rocky. So that's me done with doing rock cakes today. I don't know what else I'll do during this lockdown period, but I have a couple of other things on my sleeve that I can pull out of my sleeve. So I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna show you a little bit from here. Okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. I'm gonna put them into a big plate so that you can see it further. Okay, this is what you call rock cake. So it's supposed to look like that, like a rock. And you see the way they look. You can eat them like that. Some people put currants or sultanas in this. They are not scones. They're not equivalent of scones, and they're not scones. They're just called rock cakes. But some people still put some currants in it. And some people put fruit. And some people put cherries. It depends on what you like. But we like them plain here. As you can see, that's what it's supposed to look like. They look like rocks. Not like pebbles or flat cake. They're supposed to look rocky, like the rock, you know, like Incredible Hulk, you know, the way his body looks rocky, you know, that's what it's supposed to look like, rough, you know, like a rock. So that's the end. Whoops, that one's flying somewhere there. So that's the end of it. That's it. All done. I'm gonna soak this in this sink. Thank you everyone for watching. I've got to go now. Adios. Compared to this, that looks rocky. This is what looks rocky. This one looks really rocky. This one looks really rocky compared to the first one. That's what happens when you put too much liquid, milk, as in milk or water or whatever you use, because some people use water as well. It turns into a flat or pebble cake. But if you put less liquid, if you use egg and a little bit of milk, not too much of milk, so you can see both of them side by side. That's what it looks like. That's rock cake. Thank you. Bye.